Well, it's been a while, but we are back here on the Nights On, Lights Off podcast. This is Will from the Game Escape channel, here as always with JayShy from ShinMegamiTalks. Jay, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. Got a bunch of things to talk about today since it's been a while since we've been on, so I got a bunch of stuff, and I can't wait for this episode.
Yeah, I was kind of looking at our show notes, and the last time we did this was October 3rd. So it's been 2 months,
Yeah.
a lot has happened. And you've probably got more than I do. I've been so super busy that I'm not going to have a ton of at least what are we playing type stuff, but we do have a lot to talk about. So I figured we would change the format up a little bit. Instead of talking about what we're playing right now, let's start with some topics. And
Yeah.
I think the first topic that kind of flooded my social media feeds this week was 30 years of PlayStation. It's hard to believe the PlayStation has been around for that long, and I figured I would ask you, what are some of your memories with the PlayStation 1?
Well, PlayStation 1 is one of my favorite consoles. I have two, which is PlayStation 1 and the Sega Dreamcast. Those are two of my favorite consoles of all time. I didn't even know it's been around for 30 years. Sometimes I forget how fast time is moving. But for me, I've discovered a lot of genres that I play today through PlayStation 1. So I fell in love with tactics RPGs because of the PlayStation 1. A lot of people would assume that I'm probably talking about Final Fantasy Tactics, right? I mean, when you say
Absolutely.
tactics RPGs, it'll be Final Fantasy Tactics. For me, it wasn't Final Fantasy Tactics. It was a game called Vandal Hearts. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
I have heard of it. I have not played it. And it was one of those games that I was trying to hunt, but I think it's gotten quite expensive.
Oh, is it? I didn't even know it's expensive now. But Vandal Hearts is basically Konami's take on Final Fantasy Tactics. It has a more mature story. Well, I wouldn't say it has a more. They're both pretty mature, but I guess there's a death animation that kind of makes the game pretty graphic. So whenever you would kill an enemy on the field, instead of them just dying or they fall on the floor in Final Fantasy Tactics, in this game, blood sprays out of their neck and it just sprays into the sky. And that's how you know you killed an enemy on the field. That was the first time I've ever encountered a strategy RPG on the PS1, and it was all pixelated and stuff. And of course, you got your Vandal Hearts, but you also had your Final Fantasy Sevens, which was a Final Fantasy that I spent so much time and hours on. But actually, because I played that one, I had to play the other six that came before it. So I started looking back. PS1 had a lot of gems, man. It had a lot of gems, but it also had those experimental games because, everybody was experimenting with, 3D. So I had games like Intelligent Cube or Jump and Flash, which was another good one that a lot of people don't remember. There was another game that was called Assault Rigs that I grew up with, where you drive tanks in like a kind of what's that movie called? Tron. Thank you. It looks like Tron. But yeah, I've had some very good memories with PlayStation 1. Those huge long loading times, those were great. I don't know. How about you? Do you? I know. I'm sure you have plenty memories of the PlayStation 1.
Yeah, so when I was getting all of this stuff, I was thinking about, when did I get it? What were my absolute very first memories with it? And I can't remember the year, but I remember the circumstance. So I had a summer job that my mother got for me at a kitchen supply store. I guess she knew the owner or something. And I absolutely hated this job. It was so boring. They had no customers, and I would just kind of walk up and down the aisles reading a book or something. It was just the worst way
Yeah.
that I could spend time
It's
as
a
kid.
boring job. Yeah, I got you. I've had one of those.
Yeah, and so after a while, I was just like, you know what, I hate this. So I called my friend who was like the first person that I knew who had a license and who could drive. And I said, what was his name? I think his name was like James. I'm like, James, you know what? I need you to come pick me up at work. I'm just going to quit my job and buy a PlayStation. So I need you to pick me up, take me to, I think it was for those who live in the Northeast, I think it was the Wiz. I don't know if you...
Oh,
cause
I never
you
grew up with that, but I never grew up with the Wiz, but I know of the Wiz.
Yeah, so I'm like, I need you to drive me to the Wiz. I was making this guy to be like my personal Uber driver before Uber existed. So I need you to pick me up, take me to the Wiz. I've saved up enough money. I'm buying a PlayStation. I'm quitting my job. And so he did. I picked up. I only had enough money for this console. Did it come with a memory card or not?
No, you had to buy that separate.
All right, so I got the console, the memory card, and 2 games. One was, I think it was Cool Borders 2.
Okay, if you got Cool Borders 2, that means you got the console pretty late.
That was late?
That was a bit late. That was about 2 years after the console was out, or about maybe a year and a half.
Yeah, I mean maybe that was the case because I mean it wasn't in '95. Definitely wasn't in '95.
Yeah.
And then I got the WWF Raw is War game, which was relatively like it was a new release. Mm-hmm. And those were the 2 games I played for the rest of the summer. And I was kind of surprised because my parents weren't particularly angry. Like I figured, oh man, I'm going to get hammered for this. Quit the job and buy a PlayStation. So I played those 2 games for a bit, and then I remember getting Final Fantasy VII shortly after it was released, because I think it was released in '97.
Yeah, 97.
Now, I can't remember when in '97, but it wasn't like the first week, because the way I discovered it was a couple of guys at lunch were every day at lunch they were talking about what they had experienced last night in Final Fantasy VII. And of course I knew about Final Fantasy from the NES, but it had kind of, and Super NES, but it had faded into the background for me.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what, this sounds awesome. So I probably got it maybe a month after it released. And that just was one of the greatest gaming experiences that I've ever had. Just playing through that whole game, the sense of discovery. I think we talked about it before. Like,
yeah, we did.
When I got past the Midgar part, I thought,
it was over.
I thought I had beat the game. And then when that world opened up, it was just like, oh wow, this is what new video gaming is about in the 32-bit era. Yeah. So and then the other thing I think that stands out for me with the original PlayStation, starting with Final Fantasy VII, but also in a lot of other games, was that art style where you had like a pre-rendered background with your character running through it. So games like Parasite Eve,
Resident Evil.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I felt like that to me is an art style that was born on the PS1 and pretty much stayed there. Like you didn't see too much of that on the PS2 because they could kind of like actively render the whole world.
I don't think you've seen any of it on the PS2. I don't remember any games on the PS2 having pre-rendered backgrounds.
Yeah, or any game since, really.
Yeah, no. And that's a cool looking art style too, to put a 3D polygon figure and a pre-rendered background. That's a neat way to go about game design.
I think there's a new game that came out. I saw it pop up briefly on the Happy Console Gamer channel. I can't recall the name, but it was like a throwback to that style. But yeah, so to me that is what the PS1 represents, and also, as you said, the creativity, like where companies were just trying new things.
Yeah. And
I mean, like games like Ehrgeiz and Einhänder, like
Einhänder was a good one, and there was another one that was really good. It was a 3D platformer called Pandemonium. That was pretty good. That took creativity. That was doing the whole 2D, 3D thing. That was great times, man. Those are awesome. The way I got my PlayStation, I don't think I was old enough to have a job yet, and I'm not trying to throw your age out there. I don't want you to think that.
No. Let's be honest. I'm old. Let's.
But I didn't have a job at the time, but I always got an allowance from my grandmother and my parents, and I had to save up money. And I remember going to a store at the time called Service Merchandise, and seeing the PlayStation for the first time. And I told my mom, I was like, I really want that. Can we get that? And she told me, she's like, look, if you save up half, I'll put up the other half, and we'll get you a PlayStation. Eventually, I did, and I saved up half, got the PlayStation from Service Merchandise. Or it was probably Macy's. This is when they were actually selling electronics at the time, because they don't do that anymore. And I took it home, and I realized I didn't have any games. I just had a demo disc, and I played the hell out of that demo disc. But it also got me to look up games that I didn't know existed. So I went to Blockbuster right after and rented Fighting Force, and I think it was either Tekken 2 or Tomba. It was one of those two, because I remember having Tomba for a little bit and playing Tekken a lot. And I played the heck out of those games. And I remember playing Fighting Force and being a bit disappointed, but still loving it, because it basically felt like a 3D version of Final Fight to me with Tekken speed. It was just fast but bad at the same time. And I just remember playing those games so much. And just like you, I remember going to school, and all my I wouldn't say it was all my friends. It was one friend that I had at the time that would talk about Final Fantasy VII. He was like, I'm playing Final Fantasy VII. It's so amazing. It's so awesome. And you have to try it out. And I remember, I'm gonna bring up some old stores, because I already brought up Service Merchandise, and that kind of shows my age too. I remember I went to a place. Do you remember a place called Comp USA?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I went into a Comp USA, and they had Final Fantasy VII for $20. So I bought Final Fantasy VII. I started playing it, and I remember being very confused by the game, because I think Final Fantasy VII was my very first RPG. I know it's not, but I think it's the RPG that I actually spent time playing. And I remember playing it and being very confused, like, why am I running down hallways and this weird thing happens where you end up in this battle and you can't move around, and why do I have to fight through menus? Because I was very confused by this, but for some reason the story was so good, I just kept playing the game. And I remember a friend of mine, he didn't have money to get the game, so I let him borrow it. And I'm an only child, so I only have myself to play the game. And I remember him, his brother, and his sister, they had my game for about a week. And when he brought over his memory card to my house, him and his brother and sister had, like, I think they used up the whole memory card, because they had different save slots for different levels. And in each different level, they have made it to, like, bosses I've never seen yet, because I haven't gotten that far. And they had it for a week, and I had it for maybe about a month or so. And I remember this was the first time I saw Diamond Weapon, and I was like, oh my god, this game is amazing, I have to get here. So and he would just tell me, oh man, wait till you get to this part, or, oh, did you get to this part about Aerith? And I was like, what happens to her? It was great. It was a cool time. This was the time where you didn't click on things on the internet and got stories. Like, you and your friends had experiences, and then you shared them with one another. I miss those times.
Yeah. I it's funny you're talking about that story. So I had kind of a similar thing. I had played it, beat it, and I was like the biggest proponent of this game. And I had a friend, and I think he had gotten a PlayStation, but he wasn't, I don't know, he wasn't thrilled with it. He wasn't really a gamer. And I'm like, listen, I'm going to lend you this game, and it's going to completely change your mind. And so I had a sleepover, at his house, and I was sitting there with him and his sister, and I'm like, all right, you're going to put this in. And I was like training them. I'm like, all right, go here, do this, wait till you see this part. And, he was kind of an intellectual guy, so I'm like, we were discussing, the ethics of environmental terrorism and
Right.
stuff like that. And so like we had this amazing time, and he was like, "Oh, can I borrow the game?" And then it's just like a week or two later, I was over there, and same thing. They had explored every last like possible thing you could do in Final Fantasy VII, and I had converted them, and I was so proud of myself. A couple of other
That,
things that come to mind. I think this is where being old gives you some perspective.
yeah.
Sony, at that time, obviously, the idea that they were getting into gaming was so unique because they were that high-end electronics company.
Yeah.
And the idea that they were going to somehow compete with Nintendo and
And Sega.
Sega, was exciting. And the best thing I could do as a comparison is like imagine if Apple came out right now. They're the sleek, popular electronics company, higher end stuff, and they're like, you know what? We're going to compete with the PlayStation 5, and we're going to come out with this amazing Apple game system.
Yeah.
And so you thought of them in one way, and you had this really high opinion, like, oh, Sony receivers and CD players. And it was like, wow, they're giving us kids a Sony CD player that can play games. Like, there was
Yeah.
a certain cachet to that was unique. It's like, oh, yeah, Nintendo only makes games, but Sony makes everything. And now they're taking that expertise and that knowledge, and they're concentrating it into this little box made just for me. Again, that's how I thought about it. It was, maybe kind of silly. The other thing that kind of stands out when you go back and you look at those times and you return to those games, I think you also have to point out that PlayStation 1 has not aged well visually.
Um.
And
Yeah.
I think on a lot of those games, like those 3D games where back then you were blown away, I'll give you two examples. The original Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
Like I played that years later, and I'm like, ooh, wow, my memory had it so clear and crisp and awesome, and it's kind of a blurry mess. It's like when you think back to N64 and PlayStation 1, like, and you go back and play them, you have the N64 fog versus
Yeah.
the Sony pixels, and even if you throw it up through an upscaler and stuff like that, it to me it just doesn't translate well to today.
I'm gonna be honest. I kind of disagree in a way.
Okay.
With N64, I do agree though, because I feel like there's that I don't know. It feels like someone smeared Vaseline over your eyes. And you kinda
Yes.
get that. It's horrible. I hate that. But I remember a couple months ago, me and my friends put up a video of my friend playing a Metal Gear Solid, and I remember watching Metal Gear Solid, and I was looking, I was like, it's pixelated, and the characters have to move their heads, but to me it still looked visually good. That might be the nostalgia talking, but I still think that there's some games on the PlayStation 1, even if you don't have the upscaler, it still looks good. Metal Gear Solid is one of them. I like the way Metal Gear Solid looked. I liked all the tricks that they had to use in order to make it look visually appealing. Even like the underwater effects was pretty cool because it wasn't really underwater. You can really tell that they just slowed your character down and then they put like this weird wavy effect. But it was still cool. Another game that I think is visually like appealing to the eyes on the PlayStation 1 is Legend of Mana. I recently popped that in and I was like, man, this looks like an old Nick Jr. cartoon. This is like really cool. It's a really cool looking game with an artistic value that hasn't been replicated yet. Like, have you ever played Legend of Mana?
I have not.
Oh, okay. There's a scene in Legend of Mana. It's super early on, like as soon as you start the game. If you go outside of the character's house and you just run down, I guess, the right path, you can go behind the house. And behind the house, there's a giant tree that has a face. And the motion, I think they used full motion video on it, but they blended it with the pre-rendered background that we were talking about, and it just looks beautiful. It looks great, and I think that there's certain games that just don't look good. Like I popped in, what was it, Twisted Metal, not too long ago just to play it, and I was like, oh man, you get that that grainy effect on the outside of
Yeah.
objects. I would definitely agree. Games like that. But there's other games that really have. I guess it's a trick that I also use when I'm doing illustrations. A lot of the times when you bring up the whole, I didn't remember my brain, seeing the picture like this. A lot of the times, our imagination fills in the gaps. I use this exact trick when I'm illustrating comic books. Sometimes I never fully draw in anything because I allow the reader to fill in the gaps, and it makes it fun for their brain. I think PlayStation 1 did that trick a lot. It did it immensely. But I do feel like I don't think that the PlayStation 1 aged poorly. I think that there's some games that aged poorly. If you pop in Pandemonium now, Pandemonium is still fun. It still looks good. And games like I'm trying to remember that not Tomba, the Castlevania one,
Oh,
Symphony of the
Symphony of
Night.
the. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, like, because the sprite based art,
yeah.
just generally, I think ages well.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
but 3D art. I 3D art. I still think it depends on the game because there's a game on PlayStation 1 that I love to play. I pop it in at least once a month, maybe 2 times a month, and I play it. Like Jet Moto. Jet Moto, I would. It does have that same grainy effect. It does have like this weird 3D pixelated look to it, but the game is still looks good because it has colorful levels, it has really cool tracks, it moves in a certain way where you're still having this awesome great roller coaster ride with it. But I will definitely say like some of the HD remasters of today have definitely made us look back at other stuff and say, "Oh my god, this looks horrible." You know?
yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm just trying to think of like good ones. Like my second bad example was going to be Mega Man Legends, which
Oh,
kind of looks good when you're not
yeah.
moving around too much, but then when you do move around, you have some of the effects that you're talking about. Plus, the controls. This was before the dual stick
Do a stick, yeah.
times,
So
and it's hard to.
you had to use the shoulder buttons to turn around. Is that
Yeah,
what? Yeah,
so
yeah.
you maneuver through the world. Um,
Good
so
times.
but I think a couple good examples would be. I always thought Brave Fencer Musashi looked good. I don't know if
I
you
actually
ever.
played. I actually played that recently. I have a copy. It has some rough spots, but it still looks great. You know, it's
Yeah,
still. Yeah, I've played Brace Fencer.
and Rival Schools. I
I
think
love
that
Rival
looks
Schools.
awesome on the PlayStation One.
See, I think a game like Rival Schools looks a bit rough, but the backgrounds really save it. You know, Rival Schools and what is it? Street Fighter EX Plus Alpha
Yep.
is another one that also uses pre-rendered backgrounds.
Yeah, that you mentioned it does. I mean, what do you think of like Tekken? Like I always thought Tekken 3 was held up
Yeah,
decently.
yeah. Tekken 3 looks good. What was it? Tekken 3, Tekken 2, and then you had what was the other one? Bloody Roar is another one.
That
That
one
was
I've
pretty.
never played.
That one has kind of the film grainy thing that you're talking about, like the pixelation on the outside of every, like a character doesn't move and you can see the lines moving on the outside of the characters. Yeah,
Oh.
I don't know. I think it just really depends on. I, I I think it just depends on what you like. See, I like that stuff. But I've come to know things about you is that you like visual fidelity and high frame rates.
I do like high frame rates. Yes,
Yeah.
I mean the graphics can kind of be average, but I do need that crisp, clear frame rate.
Yeah. I When we get later down the road, I actually have something. I finally see where you're coming from when it comes to frame rate. I've gotten a game and it destroyed me when it started doing things I didn't like.
Nice, but I mean I don't mean to like trash the PlayStation because I think so much of it is period specific, and it is nostalgic. And I
Yeah.
would say that, I mean, to me, I'll just reiterate it again. It's the pre-rendered background with the 3D animated character, like Final Fantasy VII Parasite Eve. Like, I think that holds up. That
Yeah. Yes, it does.
comes back, and you're like, okay, that is PlayStation. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I would love to go back to the days of that creativity. I don't know if you saw this, but apparently they're working on a new PSP, and
PlayStation Vita. They're working on a new Vita.
oh, Vita. Oh, I thought
Yeah.
I know they're working on a new handheld. I didn't
Yeah.
know. I didn't know what they were calling it, but no one knows what it is yet. Is it going to play PS5 games? But I was hoping, like, in addition to streaming or doing PS5 games, like, I'd love them to have, I don't know what you want to call it, like a, how Steam did their green light thing for
Yeah.
smaller
Yeah.
creative games, like PlayStation Retro or PlayStation Legacy, where you create the kinds of games that you had on the PlayStation 1, where, hey, we're going to create a platform for people to take risks, and it won't be too resource intensive because, you can scale it down. It's just for this new handheld, but that's probably a pipe dream.
Yeah, I did hear things about a new Vita. I did hear that, and I think that they wanted to test it out with that. I didn't even know this, but PlayStation 5 has like a handheld. I think it,
Yeah,
I
the
think it's
Portal.
the Portal, and actually thought that thing was fake. I didn't know that was a real thing. But apparently that's a thing. I think that Sony sees value in the Portal, so they're like, all right, let's just come out with another Vita or PSP, whatever the hell it is. Um, I'm My expectations are super low until PlayStation can figure out what it is that they really want to focus on, because I feel like they're all over the place. They're doing digital. They're doing this. Well, it's kind of like what Xbox is doing. Like, they don't know what they want to do. I think those two companies are not focused right now. And until then, I'm not gonna get excited for something like this, because I like the Vita. I loved it, but a lot of people, I guess it didn't catch on, and it, like, because I think it was just the way they pitched it back then. The Vita was just a PlayStation 3 that was portable in your hand. But I don't. I want to see how this is gonna do, because to be completely honest, I feel like they're a bit late, because now that you have the Steam Deck and the Nintendo Switch is most likely probably going to be a hybrid as well, I just don't see the point. It just seems like a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean I can look at it from both ways, right? The Vita came out, right before mobile gaming really took off and defined itself.
Right.
So, the idea that you could have console quality games in a portable form factor, I think, was unique. But
Yeah.
they didn't realize that, smartphones were going to be able to do that like 6 months later or a year later.
And the other thing is, I agree with that. But the other thing is, they didn't push it like they pushed it in Japan, because
Yeah.
they pushed it hard in Japan. Most of my Vita games are Japanese, like they're from Japan. Like, because a lot of people say that the Vita doesn't have a lot of games. It has tons. Most of the games are you can play on the Switch now. There's
Yes.
so many games on the Vita, that was like region free. That's why I was buying so many games from Japan, because it also had English. I actually think that Nintendo stole that idea, because
Yes.
because the Vita did what the Nintendo Wii U did before it came out. The Vita could connect to your PlayStation 3 and it could connect to your PlayStation 4. Because I used to do that. And then when the Wii U came out, I was like, oh, this is basically a Vita. I'm just gonna get that. But
Yeah, I mean, I think the Vita was the birth of kind of the
the hybrid.
region-free import
Yeah.
model that, import gaming model that we're still in. Like, it
Yeah.
had a lot of interesting releases. Most of them were from Japan, and because it was region-free and supported English, you could start importing more easily without worry. Before that, you had to be like, oh, I need to mod my PS2, or
Hmm.
there was just more
More
barriers to
work. There was more
barriers
work.
to entry. But it's funny because I think on the flip side now is that because of the Steam Deck and things like the what is it, the Asus Rogue Ally,
Oh, there's
and
more. Oh, I see. I didn't even
yeah,
know
the
that there was
MSI
more.
Claw, the Lenovo Legion Go, like they've opened up a
Wow.
space where and all those do roughly the same thing,
Yeah.
except the non-Steam ones run Windows, and
Mm.
obviously Steam has its own bespoke OS. From what I gather, Windows is poorly implemented on those machines, so even if they're more powerful, the experience on the Steam Deck is still better.
Hmm.
But being that as it may, it's created this idea like, hey, there is a market for high-end console
Port-
quality
Portable
gaming.
devices. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, are they super portable? I mean, the Steam Deck to me is kind of big.
It's a huge brick. My
Yeah,
friend has to
like
carry. He has to carry it like a little lunch box that he puts it in. I call it a lunch box. It's not a lunch box, but it's a carrying case. But
yeah,
yeah,
and
those
do
those
I
things are
want to
huge.
take that on a plane? As a 40-year-old man, not necessarily.
Yeah.
So I kind of like, okay, if I lay in bed, then I can play a visual novel on it. But I think what Sony is like is, hey, you know what? The technology is still fairly standardized now. Like, there's not a big technological jump where, say, Steam can make a new version. Steam has said
Hmm.
so much. Valve has said that themselves. So I think Sony is waiting for like a new generation of hardware, and they're going to say, hey, if you like this experience, ours is going to be the one where you can have it with PlayStation IP.
I'm gonna be honest. I think if Sony is going to make this thing, and I might be wrong. Maybe I'm just thinking crazy. I don't think that it should play the exact same games you can play everywhere else. I think it should have its own games. Because you have to. I think nowadays, because I've seen so many people get like, I've seen a lot of people get mad about the direction that Xbox is going. I've seen people get mad about where PlayStation is going,
Yeah.
and it seems like a lot of gamers want a dedicated console that plays dedicated games. I know a lot of people they don't like exclusives, but I think exclusives are a good idea because it gets you to buy the console to play that exclusive. I don't think you should move it to other places. Like if you want to play, the hottest, Diablo game or whatever, you go to PC or you can go to PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5. You got all of these other options. But I remember when the Vita came out, I couldn't find any of those games on any other platform. So I bought a Vita. So I couldn't play Danganronpa. I couldn't play, sort of Stranger in Sword City. I couldn't play these games. But then, you have all these games on the Switch now, or you have these games on the PC now. It's like, well, there's no real reason to buy a Vita. If they're gonna do this thing of creating a new handheld, they have to have dedicated games. That's my take on that.
See, I'm going to disagree a little bit. Like, I want them to have a dedicated new IP. Like, I think that would be
Mm-hmm.
good. On the other hand, I think from the consumer standpoint, right, if I, like, what was the appeal of the Steam Deck for me? It was like, I get this piece of hardware and I have my entire Steam library, well, not my entire Steam library, but a good portion of it at my fingertips. There's
Right.
no software investment that I need to make.
Right.
So if Sony was like, hey, if you bought these PS5 games, now you can play them on the go in this portable form factor. You already have the software. I think that's useful to a lot of people.
See,
At
see,
the at
I
the same time, though, Sony's kind of greedy, so my disc-based games, they're
see.
probably
I
not going to let
I
me
agree
transfer
with
them.
you. I agree with you. The problem is that they move all their stuff to Steam, so everyone just picks up a Steam Deck. That's the issue that I'm having. Is like, that's cool that you want to take your game and put it on the Pulse or the new Vita or whatever, but then you move it to Steam, and it's kind of like, okay, so now you just opened up two more options. So why would I buy your new portable console when you just gave me two other options that I can use without spending the money? That's what I'm saying. Is like, I feel like if they're gonna do this, it needs to be dedicated. Because if they're making this thing, they obviously want to do more hardware sales, and if you want to, if you want to make more hardware sales, you have to find a reason for people to spend money on your stuff. The only people that's gonna buy the whatever it's called are gonna be the diehards. You know, they're gonna be like Sony diehards. They're gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna buy this because I love Sony as a brand. And those are the only people, and then it's gonna turn into a legacy console, and then it's gonna be hard to find, and then everybody's gonna want it then when they can't get it anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's it's
But
interesting. 'Cause
you bring up a really good point though. You do. It's just that there's two other avenues. That's the problem.
Well, I mean, I think what Sony would probably do is say, hey, now that we have this platform, we're not putting our stuff on Steam.
That's true. That would be a smart move, in my opinion, and then people would get pissed off.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, they're not going to pull stuff that they already have on Steam, but
Yeah,
like
they're just gonna stop.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then probably, like I said, they're going to freeze out people like me who only buy physical PlayStation games.
Most likely.
But hey, if you have the digital version of something, I'm sure it would carry over. Like from what I understand, the rumors anyway, it's going to be that developers will like create a performance profile for whatever this portable system is.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can play the game on your Pro, on your regular, and then on this portable with that performance profile.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I also think we're not the target audience necessarily.
We are not. We are not the target audience for this console at all.
Like I think the broad PlayStation consumer, if I had to guess, is somebody who sees PlayStation as kind of like the trusted brand of gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Nintendo's for kids, and they're looking to play Call of Duty, Madden,
God of
maybe
War,
they, God of War, like those PlayStation exclusives, Gran Turismo, and
GTA. Everything that we don't play.
Yeah, well, I like Gran Turismo, but
Gran Turismo is good. Gran Turismo is good.
Yeah,
I'll give it that.
But I think they're going to say to those people, hey, how would you like a sleek portable device? And it'll have some media capability and stuff like that. And you can take it on the go. You've already bought these games. And if you have whatever their plus premium tier is or whatever they call it,
right,
like you can now get all these games on this device. And I think there are people who would be like, yeah, awesome.
Yeah, of course.
So, I mean, I think we're the only ones who hunt down the unique exclusive titles, and that's a driver for us. I think for a lot of people, that's just an expense. Like, oh, I got to get this another version of this, or there's this game I can only buy on this platform. Screw that. I just want to play games whenever I have the time.
You want to know? I know exactly what you're talking about, and I'll explain it to the listeners right now. And this is the prime thing of how we work. When my friend told me he was buying, he was really excited about the new Dragon Age game. He's like, I really want to play this game. I was like, that's great. He's like, are you getting it? I'm like, no. I just found out that there is an airport simulator from Japan that just came out. I got to go get that. That's the game I want right there. I want a game where you're traffic control in Japan.
That's how our minds work. That's how our minds work. But I wanted to. I think this is a good point. To transition to another topic that we have. We have covered the Switch quite extensively,
a lot
on this podcast, and again because. That airport traffic control simulator. I mean, that's a perfect example. The Switch is a handheld that has those unique titles. But a couple weeks ago, you messaged me and you said that you had a new kind of like Switch bombshell or revelation, and I wanted to.
You meant that went down a new rabbit hole.
Oh, that was the same thing. The rabbit hole and the revelation.
No, I know what you're talking about. Okay, yes, I did have a new Switch revelation actually. No, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So yes. I just want to summarize for the viewers. Like, I think a good summary of where we've been on the Switch is you made a point, and we kind of went back and forth about it, that for all of us who are obsessively buying Switch games, just to realize that they may not be as collectible as we think because we're all buying them all right now.
Right.
And for as great as it is to hunt these games and to have this console with such a wide library, it may not be like we're building this incredibly rare collection that will be worth a lot of money. I came back and said, well, I see your point, but I think there's a younger generation who kind of grew up with the Switch, but probably don't have the resources to explore it the way we have, and they may look back in their nostalgia and say, "Hey, I love the Switch. I want to see all these different games that are on it." And there
Yeah.
may be kind of a premium placed on physical media, 15, 20 years down the road. And so there may be a collector's market. We just don't know how it's going to play out. So that's kind of the background. Now I want to hear the new revelation.
Yeah, so the revelation that I had was I still feel kind of the same, but there's some caveats, I would say. I didn't take into account when we made that video and we were talking about that. I didn't take into account what when you said that the new kids would actually be interested in this. And now that it's been a couple of months and I've been seeing more and more kids look back, I started thinking, I was like, maybe he's right. He might be right with this. But and there's a but. Kids will look back on this. But what I did notice is, remember when I also said that a lot of collectors think that these games are going to be extremely rare, and I said I don't think these games are going to be rare. What I did notice is I like every now and then, I don't frequent there and I don't post things on there, but I would go on the Nintendo Switch collector subreddit,
Yes,
and I'll just
good
look
one.
at what, yeah, I would just look at what people are posting. And there's something weird that I noticed. Everybody posts the same exact games. Everybody is buying the same exact games. And I wonder if there's like, because I don't post on there and I don't share what I'm posting, I don't share what I get. I wonder if there's a small group of collectors out there that buys games that a lot of people don't talk about or don't share, if those games are like kind of hidden away in these game rooms. Because you see the usual stuff. You see, like, your Super Mario's. A lot of people are buying games from VGP that they post up. They buy a lot of reprint games, and you see the usual games, Trine, and just the regular stuff. But you don't really see people buying, like Masume, like that I have in my game room. You never see people buy. They never post anything about the what is it, the Wolfang game that I got. No one posts those games. They always post the games that everybody else is talking about. And I'm wondering if there's kind of, and I hate to put it like this. I'm not. This is the only way I can think about it. There's like this kind of shared collective thought of what is, going to be the rare thing, what's going to be the popular thing to get, in this subreddit. And that's why everybody keeps posting these games over and over and over and saying, "Ooh, look, I got it," or "Ooh, look, I got this." And occasionally you come across the Messenger or whatever. It's like I've seen these games already, like, but I haven't seen anything interesting yet. Like, I haven't seen a single person post anything about Lethal League Blaze. Not a single one. I haven't seen anyone post anything about Slave Zero X. You don't see these things. You only see the usual stuff. And I'm wondering, because we spoke about this the last time we spoke about the Nintendo Switch. They were at what, 10,000 games, right? 10,000.
I think so. I think that's what you referenced. Yeah.
Okay, that was what, 5-6 months ago, and more games have come out since then. So we're gonna say about maybe 13-14K they're at now, right? No one can. I'm not gonna say no one, because there's probably some crazy guy that probably has a room full of just Switch games. But I'm wondering if there's going to be a slew of games that no one ever talked about, and they're hard to find later on. Like, they're just impossible. And I think those are going to be the games that slip through the cracks and become very, very sought after in the long run. I said last time that I don't think that the Switch is going to be rare, but and I'm staying true to that. But there is going to be probably 1,000 games out there that's going to be sought after because no one's paying attention to them. One game that I don't really see much, like, where was it? What's that game that we got that looks like the World Championship of Nintendo, but it was the Japanese take on it?
Yeah, I think it was just called Nintendo World Championships.
No, the one that has the Japanese guy on the front cover.
Oh, yes.
And it's in the VHS tape case.
Yeah,
or whatever we bought.
what is that called?
It's like
now?
GX,
It's called like
GX something.
Collector CX or something.
Yes, I have not seen a single person talk about that game. Not a single person. I think you and I are the only two people that bought that game.
Well,
The only two.
it's funny. It's funny. In Japan, it's quite pricey now.
Is it?
Yeah,
It's a good thing we got it then.
yeah. I saw it. Like it's one of the games where if you go to some of these stores over there, like yeah, they'll have the shelves, and then they'll like flip around some games so you could see the front cover, and those are usually the more expensive ones.
Right, right.
And I did see that quite a bit.
Yeah. So, but that's what I'm saying is like, I'm not. I don't think that the Nintendo Switch is going to be rare, but there's going to be select titles that are going to be very, very difficult to find. Very, very
Yes.
difficult because the Switch community doesn't talk about them. And the reason why they don't talk about them is because they don't. Well, for one, they don't travel in the circles that we do. One, we're importers, right? So we basically look at Japan, and then we get things hella early, and then everybody gets things like, you know, 9, 8 months down the road. But we're able to like see things before they happen, right? But with the subreddit, they're kind of like locked in this kind of community, and they're like, this is the thing that everybody should get, this is the thing that everybody should get. And it's like, but this airplane game, this airplane simulator looks great, and but no one ever talks about that.
Yeah, just for the record, this game is called Game Center CX Arino no Chosenjo.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I'm never gonna
And
remember
it's
that.
the 1+2 replay version. It's good. You know, I didn't really play through a lot of it. I probably got through 2 or 3 missions.
You're lucky you got 2 copies of it, right?
I did. I got the limited edition, and which I didn't open because it was like
Right.
it had that nice VHS cover.
Yeah.
And then I had to get the regular edition as well.
Yeah, I should have bought 2 because I'm not opening my limited edition. It just looks too. I like the box. It's just too pretty.
Yeah, and it's I mean it's kind of like a unique game. Like I mean these are not actual retro like real retro games. They're kind of remakes of classics.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, you play through them like there are different objectives for each game, and they have a like a Nintendo Power style magazine that you have to read through to see how you can accomplish.
I love stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean it's a little tedious with the translation because at least for the 3 games that I got through,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they're asking you to do some very specific things, and so you do have to take the Google Translate camera out and really go through these digital magazines in the game and figure out, oh, okay, that's how I accomplish, you know, the 3rd mission on the game.
Right.
Like it's not just play the game, do well, and move on. Like it's a very specific kind of order that you have to do things in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like you have to be, I think, a dedicated import gamer to appreciate it.
You for sure. Yeah, definitely.
But it's like I said, seems to be popular over there. That's what you know. You make a good point about all of these kind of hidden things that the subreddit circles aren't talking about, and it's kind of interesting to see over in Japan like what games are super popular.
Yeah.
Like I was telling you the other night, I was that mahjong like
Yeah. Oh yeah. When I
called
said
the
I
Super Real Mahjong Love,
Yeah.
like that's one of the ones over there that's, you know, pricey.
didn't I send you? I sent you a mahjong game that you don't have. You were surprised by that.
Yes. Yes. I mean, that would have made 3 mahjong games on the Switch. I have one that I picked up over the summer, like regular mahjong, where it was just kind of like, you know, it's kind of like a trainer, and it has an online mode. The one
Right.
you sent me, which I think is an older style of that type of game, and then you have the Super Real Mahjong Love games, which you know, those were the ones like on the PC Engine, PlayStation, Saturn, the strip mahjong games, but they are fun.
Yeah.
I mean, not for the stripping part, but like I said, you know,
It
I don't
can
wanna-
be.
People,
It can be for
I mean,
that.
it can be, but I always said like, and you know, I don't want to seem like a complete pervert, but for me, these games were like, you know, it wasn't about the anime stripping stuff, but it was like the characters would tease you.
I
They
think
would
that
be
stuff
like-
is funny.
Yeah, it's
I
like it's
love
like
that
you,
stuff.
and you're put in kind of an impossible position in the mahjong game, and then you're given these hands that like you wouldn't necessarily get in real life with this frequency,
Uh huh.
and so you're building like the ultimate hand to kind of like, oh, beat them. Like, you want to make fun of me? Well, here's this rare, super rare hand that I'll take all of your money in one go. And I think to me that's the appeal, but you really have to understand mahjong to see that. Otherwise, I'm sure people just want to get the exciting cutscenes.
Right.
And I think another one, like if we talk about rarity, the and it's interesting on my Game Eye anyway. It's currently my most valuable Switch game, and that's the Taito Laserdisc collection.
Oh
I don't know
wow.
if you've
Is
played
that
that,
yeah?
but I
I
got the
know what it
special
is.
edition,
Mm-hmm.
and I almost could kick myself because I got it from one of our secret sources,
Oh,
and they said, "Oh,
I
this
just
is
love that guy. That guy
yes,
comes in clutch. I love that guy.
oh yeah." And I paid up for it, but I mean it's not to the level it is now. It's almost approaching. It's like $186, so maybe I got it for 120, something like that.
Right.
And it said, this is used. So I got it home, and I'm like, man, this is great shrink wrapped for being used. Like they really
Yeah.
packaged this
J-
this
J-
well.
Japan is big on that.
Yeah, so I opened it just
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like, I want to play this game.
Right.
And then I realized I think they sent me a new one because
I've had that happen to me
everything.
once.
Yeah, because like everything in there was, I mean, it was unopened. Like the game inside was unopened, and it's just like, oh man, if I had the new one is like
I would be
up to
completely
250.
I would be completely honest with you. Japan is so big on condition that you think it's new. It's probably used, but the person who had it before you kept it in such pristine condition that they just either traded it or sometimes they'll pass away, but their collections are taken and put in these stores. But they're kept in such a great condition, and then when they go through the stores just put it in such a good condition that you think it's new, but a lot of times it's used.
Well, maybe that's the case. I mean, like maybe someone got this and never actually used it. Like
Yeah.
because everything in there was. See, so the thing about this edition was, like you played these old school laserdisc style movie games,
Mm-hmm.
but they would also give you a Blu-ray of just the full movies.
Nice.
So if you don't want like the tediousness of, okay, let me memorize all these button commands to get the different endings, it's like it's all on a Blu-ray, and I thought that was really great. It had some art books, but the game, the Blu-ray, and the art books were sealed in shrink wrap when I opened this thing.
Nice. Very nice.
But I'm not complaining. It's a fun one. I do see what you mean about the Switch subreddit, because sometimes like I like, just because I'm collecting, I just kind of like to scroll through and see what people have. But I did recently have that impression of like, why are you posting a picture of like this game? Like it's a Mario game.
Right.
I mean, there might be a good game, but it's not interesting from a collection standpoint.
Yeah. You always get the same games. It's this, and I know that a lot of the times it's just because these are the circles that they travel in, right? So they're just talking about the games that their friends or the person that they've followed is talking about. But you usually just see the same games all the time, and I was just like, oh man, this is so weird because I feel this is unfortunate, I would say, because there's so many cool games on the Switch that no one is paying attention to, like at all. There's so many cool
Yeah.
ones. Gunvein, I finally got Gunvein, so I started playing that.
That's awesome.
Oh my
That's a
god,
great
it's
one.
it's a beautiful game. It's so much fun to play. The mechanic, the scoring system is great. It's probably NG Dev Team's best game on that console.
I am kicking myself for not getting that. And I
You know
think I
what?
told you, like I was traveling, right? You told me about it, and then I forget where I was going, but yeah, the plane landed. I got to the hotel. I got your message. I tried to buy it, and it was sold out.
It was gone. Yeah, that game sold out in like 10 minutes of it opening out. It was gone. But you know, you have all these gems that no one talks about, but I think that I would honestly say that I know that a lot of people consider themselves, you know, maybe you know importers of the Nintendo Switch. They import everything, whether it's Japan or Europe. I think we solely like focus on JP. Sometimes, occasionally, if we can't get it in JP and it's somehow, oh god, you know, in EU, we would just bite the bullet and just get an EU copy of the game. But a lot of the times we focus on JP because JP has games that doesn't see the light of day in another region. There's a couple of games that I pre-ordered and it's like JP exclusive. Like you can't get it in EU because there's no English version or there's no Asia release. So,
Yeah. By the way, your gun vein is 162.
it's $162 now.
Yeah, that's complete in box.
I have the LE.
Oh,
Yeah.
that has no price.
Oh wow, good.
That has on Game Eye anyway.
So basically, it might be more because I have the LE.
Yeah,
I always buy big boxes.
that is.
That's
That
like
is
my
the
thing.
case.
I think that's why my Switch collection is so pricey right now in Game Eye, is because whenever I buy a game, it's rare that I buy it just the box. I need the LE, especially if it's a game that I want to play.
Well,
I'll only get the LEs.
And I'll, it's interesting. So when we talk about like the JP exclusive stuff, I do think, if we talk about kind of almost reevaluating the Switch and its collectability, I think when the Switch 2 comes out, we already know it's going to be backwards compatible.
Right.
But I've said, if there is a performance mode where now I can play all of my Switch games and get a solid frame rate, or correct performance issues,
Right.
I think sooner than we think people are going to go back and try to find certain games, and so
Yeah.
there'll be like this two waves of collectability:
Definitely.
the Switch 2 wave, and then the teenagers of today nostalgia wave once they get to like 30 years old.
I've already started marking out a plan, and I think that if people want to do that, like when the Switch 2 comes out, whatever it's called, comes out, I think people should prioritize two things: is get the games that you want on the Switch that you're pretty sure is not going to be ported. So you kind of have to look at something and kind of guess, is this probably going to be ported? Because if they're porting so many stuff now, they're probably going to port it. The other thing is keep your eye on games that look like gems that might be hard to find that comes out for the newer console. And trust me, you can always tell what's a game that's going to be, somewhat of a gem. I'm not gonna lie. There's a game that I have that I didn't think was gonna be a gem, and I'm not gonna say a gem. I didn't think it was going to be as, spiking in price as it is, and it's Daemon X Machina. I didn't think that
Really?
game was. Yeah, I didn't think that game was gonna be sought after. I just thought that you would be able to find it everywhere because it just has that look. But apparently, you can't find that game everywhere now. But I remember when I was shopping for Switch games, I saw it everywhere. Everywhere. It was at every Best Buy that I went to. It was always there. But now people are saying that it holds a price of like $50, and you can't you can't find it in the wild anymore. And then I started like looking into it, and it's apparently it's only on the Switch. And I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense.
Well, it's on
only
Steam.
on the Switch. It's not. You can't get it on another console.
It is on Steam.
Is it on Steam?
Because I remember, it's funny. It's one of those games that was like, "Oh, I'm going to pick this up," and I never was like, I'll just wait. It's really not my style of game, and I've waited and I waited, and then I saw it on the Steam sale for Thanksgiving, like on my wish list. And I'm like, there's other games I want to play, so I didn't get it. But now I may have to try to search one out, physical, of course.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like, to me, Daemon X Machina is the Metal Warriors of the Switch. It may not be that in price, but it just feels like it's definitely an Armored Core game because it's made by the same guy. Before he went back to From Software or whatever. but it plays like an Armored Core game hybrid of Monster Hunter, but it doesn't have like Monster Hunter stuff. Like you still do levels, but it's more like mission based, and you can tweak the mech. But it just has a cool look. That cell shaded look goes very well with that game. I think that's a cool appeal of it. It's basically an Armored Core game that looks like Jet Grind Radio. So
Interesting.
yeah, it's a really cool game.
Well, I may have to pick that up. But it's interesting. I think in a way we started this podcast at the right time, where we can really track the evolution of the Switch. Like it's coming to the end of its life, but we're going to get this new console, and we're already starting to see some kind of nostalgia for it. So it will be interesting. It'll be interesting.
Yep.
But I wanna get to your new rabbit hole. This was another kind of text thread we had going, and we were going to save it for the podcast.
Yeah.
And this, if we didn't call this the Nights On, Lights Off podcast, I think we should have called this the Rabbit Hole.
The Rabbit Hole podcast, the video game Rabbit Hole podcast.
Yeah. Because everything we talk about is a rabbit hole in one way or another. So what's the new one?
Okay. All right. So check this. Okay. I have to gain my composure because I think in the past, I'm going to say, let's see, 3 days. In the past 3 days, I fell down a rabbit hole, and I fell really hard. And the way I know that I fell hard is when my bank account depletes. That's how I know. So I think we window shop a lot when we're importing. I do a lot of window shopping. I frequent our favorite best friend overseas, and I frequent 2 other shops. I noticed that in one of these shops that I frequently pre-order games at, I noticed that there's been like, and I would just kind of gloss over it. There's been kind of like there would be pre-orders for Mega Drive games, and I was like, why?
I saw that.
Why does this keep happening? Why are they pre-ordering Mega Drive games or whatever? Recently, I got a new Evercade cart came out. It was like it came out with like 2 games. It was like a split game. I don't remember what the game. Oh, one of the games is called Life on Mars, and the other one is like Metal Dragon. And they're really good games. They're on the Evercade, and I was like, wow, these games are great. And I looked on the back of the box, and on the back of the box it says Kai Magazine Studios or something like that. That's who made the game. So I was very curious. I was like, I want to know who this is. So I go into the website. And when I go onto the website, they're a studio that I always thought that Evercade had games that they made. I didn't know that there was other studios making the games. I didn't know that. So when I went onto the website, they have a selection of games that they print for Mega Drive. One of the games that I saw, I think I remember seeing a game that they did on one of the Japanese sites. And I was like, wait a minute, why is this here? So I literally just kept typing around, looking at stuff, and I started falling down a rabbit hole. I think Mega Drive is like slowly making a comeback. Like,
absolutely.
And then I ended up on a website called Rondo Productions, and I saw that they released a a Toa Plan collection of these 3 rare shmups. I saw it and I didn't pre-order it. And I should have pre-ordered it. And when I was ready, it was all gone. All of it was sold out on 4 different websites. It was all gone. But I got another shipment from Evercade, and it was those exact 3 games on 1 cartridge for the Evercade.
Ooh.
Yeah, super lucky. But the thing is that these companies are making those traditional Mega Drive clamshells with manuals in them. And I love that stuff. So I started digging more into Evercade, and I started looking at my Evercade collection, and I noticed that a lot of these games have been printed on Mega Drive. So when I went back to our Japanese website and I started talking to some people, apparently these games that are on Evercade are originally printed on Mega Drive with actual cases and manuals. So I fell down a rabbit hole and I started buying all of these things. I literally spent I even asked my wife because she asked me, "Hey, what do you want, for Christmas?" I said, "I'm happy that you asked me that," and I just basically added all these things to cart. And she looked at the price. She got upset, and I pressed proceed. She was like, "Fine, but you're not getting anything for the next 4 months." I was like, "That's fine. That's all good." After I found that, I remember in my memory bank, I was thinking really, really hard about something. And I was like, I remember that on one of these websites, they were selling up for pre-order this kind of console. I had to go digging through all of my backlogs and categories. And I finally found it, and I came across something called the 16. And I came across something in Japan called the 16-bit compatible MD HDMI, and it's basically a Mega Drive console in Japan, but it plays all forms of Genesis games. It plays
Really?
US, yes, it plays US and it plays EU games, all on this one console. So I don't have to worry about having a dedicated Mega Drive console. The thing is, I had to go. I was crossing my fingers because I couldn't find this thing. I went on eBay. It was like $200, and I was like, "No, please!" I was like, "Please, God, no! It can't be $200." Luckily, and hopefully it's still there, and I hope you grab one. I went to PlayAsia, and they had it for $70.
Oh my god!
I immediately bought one. Immediately bought one, and it's on its way here. So now I've fallen down a Mega Drive, a kind of Mega Drive rabbit hole, because I'm looking up all of these indie developers that are still making games for Mega Drive, and they make the shells, like the actual boxes with. And the thing is that I think I love about it is that you have a choice of how you want the boxes to be displayed. You can have US, EU, or you can have the Japanese Mega Drive, artwork. It's your call, and I love that. So I want all of the Mega Drive stuff. I didn't really have a Genesis growing up. I had a Genesis, but I only had like 3 games to my name. Comic Zone, which was a really good one. I had Rocket Knight Adventures, and I had Six Pack. That was it, because I didn't have any money. I was a kid. But
all right, so I got to ask you again. So it's called 16-bit.
Yeah, if you go to PlayAsia,
Yeah.
and type in 16-bit compatible MD for Mega Drive and HDMI, and it should pop up.
So I see 16-bit compact HDMI for Mega Drive.
Is that what it's called? Compact? It might be that. Is it green and black?
Yes.
Yes, that's the one. That's the one. How much is it? 70 something? 72?
85.
Oh, they bumped it up. It's probably because I bought it. Yeah, but
From a company called Columbus Circle.
okay, now this is the thing. The
Yeah.
reason why I actually, the rabbit hole I went down was the Columbus Circle rabbit hole. If you go to a website and type in Columbus Circle, they have a slew of Mega Drive rare Genesis Japanese Mega Drive games that they basically got the license for, and they reprinted for the Mega Drive console. They have Grey Lancer, Soldice. They had I bought them all. I literally bought them all. I basically have the whole collection of Columbus Circle games right now. But I fell down more rabbit holes, so that's why.
Wow.
Yes. I literally could not stop, because when I found out how versatile the console was, I was like, I'm not even going to think about this. I'm just going to buy stuff, because there's no barrier. It basically plays all of them. So I'm just getting this thing. It's fantastic. So I would suggest that you probably grab one, because on eBay, one of those things goes for $150, I think, or like it was $120 to $150. So I bought one immediately when I found it on PlayAsia. I was like, okay, PlayAsia didn't get the memo, so let me grab one of these right now.
Now, interesting. Now, can you connect like another type of controller to it, or?
I think it comes with the. I did notice, because
I gotta admit, it looks kind of cheap. the
It does.
controllers.
It does. What I had to do to look up reviews, the way I look up reviews is I basically go to Google Translator and I'll type in like the name of a console and I'll put it in Japanese and then I'll copy and I'll paste it into YouTube. I looked up a couple of reviews and it plays all of the Mega Drive stuff, right, in HDMI, but it also has the classic components of Sega Genesis controllers. So it uses that same, kind of, what is it, like 9-prong thing?
Okay.
It uses
All right,
that
so
exact
you can
same
use the
thing.
original.
So you can use the original controllers on the cheap, I guess, console. So that was another sell for me. The other thing is Columbus Circle also makes, they're sold out, but they also made an adapter for it. So if you wanted to use, your USB controller, you just plug it in there, but that was gone. All of their stuff is gone. But I fell down this Columbus Circle, like this. I fell down this rabbit hole hard. I spent a lot of money on just this, and I started finding all of these indie developers that make Mega Drive games, and I started buying their games, and they was like, do you want Japanese covers? I was like, yes please, yes please, yes please. I'm probably gonna end up getting the Xenocrisis one at some point because that's a great game. Like I need somebody to save me from myself.
Well, now that you're mentioning it, I'm going to these websites. I'm like, wow, I never noticed this. But, it kind of coincides with what I was saying after I got back from Japan in the summer. And then even, I just got back again. And when you go around the retro game stores and all the different places where you can buy games in Japan, used games, the Mega Drive is the priciest. There's some kind of nostalgia going on for the Mega Drive.
Wow.
I asked our friend Oki Panic, who I actually met in person over there,
Right.
and we had a great time. And I had asked him, I'm like, why is it? And he was just saying, well, it's popular. It's just like a wave of nostalgia that's going on over there.
So the Mega Drive is what the Super Nintendo is here, because a lot of people don't care for the Genesis here.
Yeah, I guess in a way you could say that. I mean, over there, there are certain Super and Famicom games, that are pricey.
Right.
But it just seems like condition and price on the Mega Drive is incredible. Like even the stuff that's out on the floor that you can kind of like go through is expensive and pristine. And then when you go to the cases and you look at some of these games, you're like, wow, this is...
Do you think it has anything to do with it kind of being reminiscent to like a cheaper alternative to like if you wanted to buy a Neo Geo AES game? Do you think that has anything to probably do with it? Because it does kind of have a similar look to it from a collectible standpoint.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm just theorizing, and to me, I kind of think like it's probably one of those things like the Super Famicom, the PC Engine. Those were the 16-bit consoles that people cared about, and so many games are released on that. But the Mega Drive over there was always in third place. And so when something's rare, when you didn't explore something as a kid, what do you want to do? You want to go back and explore it. So that would be my thought, but I'm not sure.
So people are getting hit with the bug right now.
Yeah, but like we've always said, in Japan, all games are in good condition.
Yeah.
But there's something about the Mega Drive games that you see over there where they are in better condition than Super Famicom and PC Engine.
Yeah, I agree. I wish I can see some of those things because I started going nuts. Once I started piecing everything together, I was like, all right, I need all of the Columbus the Columbus Circle games. I need all of them. After I basically added those to cart and proceeded, I fell down more rabbit holes. I was like, I wonder if there's more. And I just started discovering them, and I was like, wait a minute, all of these games are on the Evercade. And I was like, wait, so they all have, Mega Drive versions? And it looks like there's one thing about the Evercade that I will honestly say. I don't think Evercade games look good on the shelf because they just kind of have like this vintage 70s look to them, which isn't bad. But when you see the way that some of these studios design their cases and the spines on them, they just look so good. I couldn't pass up. Like, some of them just look really good. And a lot of these games I play, and I want to play them. I want to see also what differs from Mega Drive to, Evercade.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I mean, you've definitely I'm not in the rabbit hole, obviously, but you've brought me to the precipice, and I'm staring down the rabbit hole.
Yes,
and
join me.
I'm seeing my wife looking at me from the other side of the rabbit hole, kind of waving the finger, going, "Don't do it."
Don't do it.
But she's not here this weekend, so anyway, I'm going to probably be.
I think when I found a copy of Grey Lancer, I think that's when I fell. I was like, I can't believe I found it. And the thing is that Grey Lancer usually runs what, 150, maybe $200 complete in box,
something like that. Yeah.
But this is an official re-release in the box, and it was low print, and I found one for $40. I could not say no to that. I could not. And I got it from our friend in Japan.
You know what?
So,
if he becomes your friend, it's a really great thing, because, like I said, and I had a, in a certain sense, I had a more productive game hunting on my second trip over there.
Yeah, you did.
But on my first trip, I was like, this is so overwhelming. It's almost easier to just ask my friend for something. But yeah,
I think if you go to Japan, you have to go with a game plan. Like, you just can't go over there and just shop, blind. I think you have to know what you're looking for. Look for that thing, but if you see something else, just grab it.
See, I would say I would have a different take.
Yeah.
Because I've been now, like, especially on this more recent trip, and I actually had a little bit more time to myself because I wasn't doing like the super touristy things, because it was more of like a work thing for my wife, so we didn't really like, we just want to go see this, and do the tourist stuff. So I will say, like, you go over there, like, there's a couple of different stores, obviously the book offs and the Mandarakes and things like that, and secondhand shops. They tend to have a fairly standardized product rotation. So, for example, you told me to look out for the Strider game on the PS3.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, I want that too, so I'm gonna try to find that. I could find that nowhere.
Jeez.
And I've been to, I mean, this is obsessive, but I want to say that I've been to just about as many of these kinds of stores in the Tokyo area as you could reasonably find sticking to the main train lines. Obviously, not being a native, I'm sure there are other stuff out there. But I went really far afield. I was in Saitama. I was in Chiba, and when you kind of go to the different regions, there's like a different mix of things you can find.
Right.
But, if you're like, I have 10 games, and I'm going to focus on these 10 games, you just may not find them because they may not be, in circulation in the areas that you're going to. So I kind of feel like you may want to have a system, like, I Vita. I mean, man, if you love Vita and you have some Japanese language skills,
yeah,
absolutely amazing, because it's dirt cheap and it's everywhere.
Yep. Very true.
Someone like me who likes Mahjong, I got to be honest, I didn't see a lot of Mahjong stuff. And the things that I did see, I either had, and this was great because some of them were behind the glass and were somewhat expensive now, or the ones that I didn't have were behind the glass and so expensive that I just, I wasn't gonna spend that money. And I think there's a kind of like a growing understanding on the part of those sellers of like what the foreigners are coming here looking for.
Right.
So you may not get the super deal. So I think you just hit up different stores, different areas, maybe focus on a couple systems and see what you can find. Now, special editions might be a different story because there are a lot of special editions floating around out there.
Yeah, and people's apartments are really small, so they don't have space for that stuff. So that stuff usually stays on the shelf.
And of course, then you're always asking like, hey, do I have the space for all the stuff that I'm going to purchase?
I never ask myself that.
Well, I mean, when you only have so many suitcases,
right? Yeah.
And it was funny, like, right, because I found the Densha to Go
controller.
It was
you found that
controller?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I really should buy this, but then, like, I know my wife had some stuff. Like, my wife is the shopping champion in Japan.
Oh man.
Let me tell you, she has like superhuman strength for the things like that she wants to buy, like kitchen supplies, clothing. Like there's some clothing stores over there that that she goes to, and of course everything right now is dirt cheap.
Mm-hmm.
So she, like, on the first night that we got there, we were trying to fight off the jet lag. We got in, we worked a full day in the U.S., got on the plane, landed at 5 a.m. Japan time, and had to stay awake until like 8 p.m.
Jeez. Wow.
And so, she's just like, oh, I just want to go shopping. So she had like 4 or 5 bags. Like she has, those big like plasticky shopping bags that we have in the States, plus a backpack. And she filled all of them up with her clothing, kitchen stuff, Japanese Christmas cards and decorations. And I'm like, can I hold some of this? She's like, no, I don't trust you. She's like, I don't want you to drop them. I don't want you to smash them together. So I'm like, how is it that you're physically standing? And we got home and her like shoulders were like torn up because she had all these things on her shoulders. And I'm like, that's dedication.
Right.
But it also meant that one suitcase was gone already.
So I'm so sorry.
Yeah. So like the Densha to Go box set. I mean, it's tough because you're always saying like, me, I love art books.
Right.
And the strategy guides. I mean, it is a wonderland over there as far as good condition, secondhand strategy guides and art books. To the point where I did have to stop myself. I'm like, I can't buy any more books. Because they're heavy.
Yeah.
And they're taking up a lot of space that you can spend on other things.
Yeah.
So
I recently
it's a tricky game.
Yeah. I recently bought 3 books because of you, and I just thought it was. Remember, I bought those. I found those. What was it? The Switch Collector.
Yes.
Hardcover books.
Kind of want to get those.
Yeah, I think you should. Definitely get the first 2. They reformatted for the 3rd one because they basically leave a note inside the book because you notice it's vastly different from the first 2. But they said if they were to continue doing the book like they did the first 2 books, it would take them 18 years to finish. So, so they said, all right, we're just gonna dial this back, and we're just gonna post all of the games that came out for those years. So I was like, okay. So the first 2 books have articles in it. It has, talking points. It has all that stuff. In the 3rd book, probably going forward, it doesn't have any of that stuff. It just has all of the games listed in hardcover form.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now here's a question I've had to ask you, and this was a topic that we wanted to discuss for a while now, and I think we'll call like a mini segment. We'll call it adulting while gaming.
Oh God.
And I think we talked about in the last episode, of all of your special deliveries, you got an amazing delivery, and that is your second son, right?
Yep.
So congratulations.
Yeah.
And I've known a lot of people who, hobbyists of various kinds, who once, you have your kids and you kind of start living the parent lifestyle, you dial back on the hobby.
Yeah.
And, you're somebody who, like, I mean, all throughout this fall, throughout the fall, you have been posting, you've been going down these rabbit holes. What is your trick for keeping the passion alive with all of these new responsibilities in your life?
So it probably doesn't seem like I dialed it back, but I technically did.
Okay.
I actually had multiple hobbies. So even though I have the video game thing, that's like my number one. But I also did comic book collecting. I did manga collecting, trading cards, and board games. I basically cut all of those except for video games. I kept that. But what I also did was comic books. I had to dial back. There's certain like what I do is if there's like 10 books that I want to read, if one is not doing very well and I'm not enjoying the story, I'll literally cut it. But I won't exceed that amount of books that I would have. Is what I'm saying. Is what I do. So I'll dial that back. Now, as for collecting, so that basically saves me money, right? The other thing is the fact that I'm an importer. That means that I can prepare. So I'll usually all the sites that I pre-order on they don't charge you until the game ships. So what I can do is if I'm pre-ordering today, I'm basically in a waiting list until the game comes out. All the way up until then, what I'm doing is I'm just basically saving money. I'm not spending it anywhere because I have to make a list of the things that I have and I have to prepare for things. So I'm basically in saving mode constantly, but I'm also in shopping mode constantly. But it's more like window shopping really, because I'm looking at things and then I'm like, all right, yeah, I kind of want this game, and then I'll click and I'll consolidate it to my month of when I want things to come out in Japan. I never wait until a game comes out and I'm like, oh, I gotta remember to buy this game. I don't want to do that. I want to know that I constantly have this thing looming over me that I have to prepare for. So that works for me. That's the way I do it. Now, as for playing the games, that gets a bit harder, especially if it's on a console on my television. I have to find time to do that. But because the Switch is a thing, I can watch my kids, but at the same time I'm sitting on the couch and then I'm playing the Switch, and then my kids, they'll sit next to me, and they'll be watching either TV or they're playing with their toys, but I'm playing on my Switch. And sometimes my son would come next to me, he'll watch what I'm playing, and then he wants to play. So the Switch helps. The other thing that helps is that whole Evercade portable, that also helps too. But yeah, it's mostly a lot of planning and preparing.
Okay.
You don't really have to eliminate your hobby. Well, no, you have to eliminate, I would say, too many hobbies, because I had too many that I was dedicating to before I had kids, and I had to eliminate those and just focus on the games. I'm talking about, I had a lot, with the trading cards and all that stuff. I also did, what do you call it? They call it like tabletop war games, where you have like these little miniatures.
Yes.
I was doing that for a while too, and I was painting my minis and all that stuff. But
I have a friend who is into that, and he was saying that is a time commitment.
It is because you have to paint an army. I didn't play Warhammer. It wasn't games like that. It was more World War II ish, because I'm getting to that age where that stuff kind of appeals to me now. But I knew I couldn't do that anymore. So I was like, all right, I can't paint and then go, to the game shop in another city and go play with my friends. I can't do that. I just don't have the time. So I would literally focus on games, fall down rabbit holes, and watch my kids.
That works. See, that's the perfect integration, I think. So,
yeah. I think it helps. I think it helps when you don't have to. I know a lot of people when they pre-order things, they want the money to come out of the account immediately. I don't want to know. I just want it to leave my account. I don't want to have to think about it later. I think the reason why I like the pre-order system that I have, where it charges me when it comes out, when it ships, is because that means I still have the money, but I can cancel something. Because I think it was my September. I had to downsize, like very big. I told you about that, right?
Yes, you
I
were.
I had to downsize heavy. I think the import cost was going to run me about 63,000 yen. That's without the shipping.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was getting up there, and I was like, that if this was 2 years ago, I wouldn't even think about it. I would immediately just, yeah, okay, yes, 63,000 yen, that's fine. If you don't know, for all the listeners, 63,000 yen is roughly about $485. It's about, yeah, 400 or 420.
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. But that's without shipping. And shipping is usually about $30, maybe $40, depending on the size of the consolidated box. But I downsized that 63,000 yen box to a 238, no, 23,000. So I consolidated down to about $135. So
Okay.
yeah, but the fact that the money didn't leave my account, I could just no exit remove, so it left a lot of room to mess around with. I like to prepare.
That is a good tip too. I've done the pre-orders that way, and you definitely want to consolidate because recently, when that Platform 8 game came out, that was like a singleton, so they charged me for it. And that was like the only thing that was going to ship out, and the shipping was more expensive than the game.
Yeah, I always tell people if you're going to import a ton of stuff, so it justifies the, never import one thing, never. Because now that we might have tariffs, well, they said that tariffs was supposed to like only work against China and Canada, I think.
I think the idea is they're going to try to do they're going to tax
tariffs on everything, right? So with tariffs, now is the time to grab what you need and then read paperwork that comes later. But yeah, the shipping usually is about $30. If your game is $30, you're basically paying $60. I mean, I would say add like 4 more games. Pay the extra money. Just because it just justifies you making that huge import cost. That's usually what I do.
Well, that's going to be a topic for the new year: how tariffs have affected our hobby.
Man, I'm terrified because I have 6 shipments in 2025 from Japan.
Ooh.
And I'm like, oh man, should I just cancel this? But I'm waiting to see what's going to happen.
Yeah,
I'm waiting to see.
I mean, the China stuff's going to be bad too because any new game console presumably is made over there, and so the Switch.
Switch 2 is probably going to be insane money.
Yeah, it's crazy. But you got time for one more segment?
Yeah. What's the segment?
Well, we did say on the Discord to our buddy Apollyon that we would do the We've Got Your Number episode 3.
Oh, right. That's right. Let's go. Let's do it.
All right. So I got a lot of games for people who have forgotten. We haven't done this in a while.
Yeah.
We find all of the notable games with the number 3 in the title, and we whittle them down to figure out what is the best game with 3 in the title. So the first 2 I'm going to hit you with is Super Mario Brothers 3 and Super Mario Advance 3, which was Yoshi's Island on the Advanced.
I never played Yoshi's Island, and and I did not like Super Mario Brothers 3 as much as the rest of the world.
Whoa!
And this is the thing. I'm going to explain this. That game came out 1989? Was it?
I think 89 or 90.
Or 90, right? Because 91 was the Super Nintendo and Super Mario World.
Yeah.
Right? So, let me see. 89, so 8, 7, 8, 8, 8, 9. I was 3 years old. I was 3 when Super Mario Brothers 3 came out, and I hated it because it was so hard. No, I was 4. I'm sorry. I was 4 years old. And I hated it because I was so... you have to understand this. I found Nintendo games extremely difficult. My parents... no, it wasn't my parents. It was my uncle. The 2 games that I had growing up on the NES era when I was a kid is 2 of the hardest games I've ever played. It was Castlevania 1 and no, I'm sorry, not Castlevania 1. Donkey Kong Jr. and Ninja Gaiden on the NES. Those were my two games that I had because I liked ninjas when I was a kid. And those games were difficult. So when I got to play Super Mario 3, I was like, this isn't any easier. I was like, this game is hard. I was like, I hate this game. But if I had to pick, I would probably go 3. Because I spent more time on 3 as I got older.
Yeah, I kind of think, I mean, I would definitely go that way too. I don't like Yoshi's Island because I hate the crying baby sound. It drives me insane. It just is grating. So you know what? I'm gonna go Super Mario Brothers 3. I think it's an all-time classic.
Yeah, I agree.
The next pairing, Forza Horizon 3. That's the one that is in Australia, and The Witcher 3.
I've watched somebody play The Witcher. That one looked more interesting to me. I don't like racing simulators. I just they irk me. I like arcade racers. So I'm gonna go Witcher.
Well, Forza Horizon is an arcade racer. It's not the regular Forza.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
It's kind of like the open world's arcadey version.
Okay, I've never played it. So
really, you know what? You should play the Horizon series.
Yeah.
Because it's, the basic concept is rather than like circuit racing and Gran Turismo, it's like, hey, you just get a car. You can drive in any direction. You can drive off the map, and you can kind of like find a car in a hidden garage and then upgrade it. You can find like a one-on-one race. You can find a circuit race. You can do tricks. You can race against airplanes. Like, it's basically an open world, but you're in a car exploring it.
Okay. All right.
Though I will say Witcher 3 has such quality, like I've never really finished it, but it has almost like a literary quality to the writing and the setting. So I will go Witcher 3, but I think if you like arcade racers, you owe it to yourself to look at the Forza Horizon series.
I'll have to check that out. Take you up on that one.
Next up, we've got Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater.
Wait. Which one are you going for? Witcher or
Witcher 3.
Witcher 3? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So we got Metal Gear Solid 3, and we have Super Mario 3D Worlds.
Why you put me in this position? I hate both of those games. If I had to pick, to be completely honest with you, I would definitely probably pick Metal Gear over the Super Mario game. Even though I don't like Metal Gear 3, I still had more fun with that recently than I would have with the Super Mario Brothers game. And the thing is that the Super Mario Brothers 3D, it's not bad. I just don't like the fact that, like, I don't know if I said this on last time podcast. I don't like the fact that every Super Mario game now is a collectathon. I hate that. That's like the only thing I hate. But gameplay is pretty solid. Man, this one's a tough one actually. What would I have more fun with? Yeah, I'm going Metal Gear.
See, I have the benefit of like knowing the lists. So it's less difficult for me. I'm going to go Metal Gear Solid 3 as well.
And that's your favorite
only because
one.
it's my favorite one. I also know what's coming up on the list. So I like Super Mario 3D World. I thought it was perfectly fine. I beat it. I enjoyed it. But I think Metal Gear Solid 3 to me was the more memorable game. And as I've said before, it's one of the few games that I recall that had like a special headphone mode. And I played it with a pair of like really good headphones hooked into my AV receiver back in the day.
So you have plenty of memories with this.
Yeah, and it was just like to hear like the individual like blades of grass as the guards were walking, and you could, you had that device where you could kind of do like the echolocation. Right. Just with the headphones, it added so much. So I'm going Metal Gear Solid 3. Now, the next pairing is equally horrendously difficult personally for me.
Okay.
Super Mario 3D Land versus Persona 3.
I'm going Persona 3.
Okay.
Like I don't have to think about that one.
Really?
I'm going Persona 3. Because that was the one that I have plenty of memories with. I beat that game and I have a lot of memories with. I'm going to pick any other game besides any Super Mario game after Galaxy.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's not going to be hard for me. What about you?
So this
What you
hard.
hated Persona 3 though.
No, I love Persona
Didn't you?
3.
Oh, okay.
Persona 3 to me, I mean, that was my intro to the series.
Okay.
And I always said I had these incredible memories. Because I remember it came out after the PlayStation 3 launch.
Yeah.
If I recall, 2008.
No, wait. Persona 3. Wait, did it come out after?
I thought so.
No. Persona 3 came out on the PlayStation 2 around 2003.
Oh, it did? Okay.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking of maybe I had the FES edition.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Fez. Yeah, I don't remember when that came out. But I have that one too. That came out a while later too, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I seem to recall, like, I had the PlayStation 3, and then I recall, like, Persona 3, maybe the FES game, and Persona 4 had come out, like, around the same time. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting that the PlayStation 2 is getting these games. It was supposed to be pretty good.
Yeah,
I played...
Persona 3 Fest came out in 2007. So, yeah, right around the time the Xbox 360 came out and all that stuff. Yeah. It's around that time.
So I played it, and I fell in love with it. It was just one of those games where I'm like, oh, this is a totally interesting take on the JRPG genre. And I would actually play it in the morning. So I'd, like, wake up on, like, Saturday morning and just play through it. I was in grad school at the time.
Right.
And it was kind of like my break from work. But Super Mario 3D Land is my favorite Mario game. I think it is chronically underrated. It used the 3D of the 3DS in just a completely convincing way.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go with 3D Land because it is like the seminal experience for me on that console. So we're kind of split here. I don't know. I don't know what we do when we're split. We just I guess we eliminate both. We say there's no winner.
I would say there's no winner.
Yeah. Burnout 3 Takedown versus Baldur's Gate 3.
I'm gonna go Burnout.
Me too.
I'm gonna go Burnout. Yeah.
And I know Baldur's Gate 3...
Baldur's Gate 3 is really good. But if I had the choice between the two, which one I'm going to play, I'm playing Burnout 3.
I would agree. 100%. Diablo 3 versus Tekken 3.
Tekken. I hate Diablo 3. I hate that game. If you said Diablo 2, but this isn't about twos.
Yeah. I would go Tekken 3 as well.
Diablo 3 isn't bad, though. Diablo 3 isn't bad. It's not Diablo 2.
I'm going to admit, I don't know enough about Diablo to... Like,
It's
I know
so good.
These are highly rated, but to me, I would just want Tekken 3.
Yeah, I'm just going to go Tekken 3 as well.
Next pairing is Virtua Fighter 3 versus Mother 3.
Damn it. I never played Mother 3, but if I had a choice between the two, like if I wanted to play both of those for the first... What was the other game? Virtua Fighter 3. If I had to choose between those two, I would probably pick Virtua Fighter. Because I know Mother 3 is probably going to take me a long time. That's the only reason why.
So I played Mother 3, very briefly, maybe an hour, 2 hours, because they released, there was that unofficial English match or something.
Right.
So I played it on a ROM. I think it has more potential, and I like the Mother series, whereas Virtua Fighter 3 is my least favorite Virtua Fighter.
Okay.
So I would go Mother 3, but, if we can't agree, it's a wash. So we leave...
Well, no, but this is the thing. I'm only picking Virtua Fighter because it wouldn't take me a long time. But we can go with your selection. We'll go with Mother 3.
Go with Mother 3?
We'll go
Yeah,
with Mother 3.
because I feel like, there's substance there. I didn't
Yeah, of
experience it in
course.
my 2 hours of play, but there's definitely substance.
Of course.
Another kind of interesting matchup would be Mega Man 3 versus Sonic 3.
Ooh. I would I didn't like Sonic. I didn't like Mega Man 3 much. I would definitely go Sonic 3 for me.
Okay. Yeah, me too. I didn't. I was a Sonic 2 fan. I didn't like Sonic 3 as much as Sonic 2, but I did not like Mega Man 3.
See, the thing is that I remember when I bought Sonic and Knuckles, I thought Sonic and Knuckles was Sonic 3, not knowing that they're two separate games. So I ended up with
Okay.
that. I ended up with that bottom half. Remember? And I was like, "Oh, wait, am I supposed? Oh, you put them together. Okay." Do you remember that?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
I thought it was quite unique at the time.
Yeah. The problem is that the Sonic and Knuckles game starts you at level 6. That's the issue. Because Sonic 3 is like level 1 through 5. I know
Okay.
it's like level 1 all the way up until I think is it the desert area? And then if you put in just Sonic and Knuckles, it starts you straight off at I think it's called Mushroom Hill. It's like a jungle with a lot of mushrooms and such, and you bounce on them. So when you put them together, it starts you off right at the beginning of the game. Like Sonic and Knuckles was the second half of the game.
Interesting.
And that's where I started, and I was like, wait a minute, what's happening here?
Well, I always found Mega Man hard. To me, Mega Man 2 was the pinnacle, so I can't go with Mega Man.
I agree. Mega
So
Man 2
Sonic-
is
Son-
the pinnacle, yeah.
Sonic 3, it is. Now, this next one is cheating a little bit because we had this game before, but Fallout 3 versus Street Fighter Alpha 3. I know we had Street Fighter 03.
Yeah, that is kind of cheating, but I'm still picking Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Granted, I did have a lot of fun with Fallout 3, but I'm still picking Street Fighter.
Yeah, I'm gonna go pick Street Fighter as well. I we didn't pick the 03, but I feel like it's a good enough game where it really should get some consideration. Then we
Definitely.
have Street Fighter 3 Third Strike versus Gran Turismo 3.
Did I like Gran Turismo 3? Probably. I feel like it peaked at 2 for me.
I played Gran Turismo 3 very recently because I think I was telling you I saw these kids. I was like donating something for like my wife wanted me to donate something, so I went to like the local church donation thing, and there were these kids, like teenagers with a PlayStation 2 playing Gran Turismo 3. And I'm like, I was just talking to them like, oh, I said, that's a little old game for you guys to be interested in. Like, no, we love it. This is awesome. Which made me go back to try it myself.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a lot, but like I always thought it was like Gran Turismo 4, that's the PlayStation 2 Gran Turismo. 3's got to suck, and it really doesn't. 3 is very, very good, very solid.
Right.
I don't know. What do you think?
I'm not going to pick Gran Turismo.
Okay. See, I lean towards it because I like Third Strike a lot, but I feel like you could make an argument that Gran Turismo 3 there's so much to do. So
If I remembered, because I know I played Gran Turismo 3, if I remember it, then I would pick it. But I rarely remember Gran Turismo 3, and I recently played Street Fighter 3. So that's like fresh.
yeah, I think we're gonna have to say
No,
it's,
no contest here. No contest.
Yeah, it's a tie. It's a tie.
Yeah.
Ultimate Marvel versus Capcom 3 versus Wario Land Super Mario Land 3.
I'm gonna go Wario.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go Wario.
because that was the first Wario game. If I
Yeah,
recall.
I'm definitely going Wario.
And that
Wario
was-
game is so good.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I like Marvel versus Capcom 3.
I do. I think it's
I had-
fine. It's just not Wario.
Yeah. Wario Land 3. So different. So it's not the first
Yeah.
Wario Land. It's the third versus Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne.
Why you do this? Huh. Damn it.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, this one's tough. For me. um Damn it. This is a good one. I'm gonna be honest. I would probably still go Wario here.
Yeah, that was my thought. Only because
Yeah.
I have Nocturne, but I didn't really get into it, and I remember just saying, "Oh, this is interesting," and then never came back to it. So,
Nocturne is a masterpiece, but I'm not gonna say it's a masterpiece. It's a really good RPG, but Wario is just so much fun. Whenever he has his own games, they're just so much fun. So yeah. I gotta go Wario. I'm sorry.
Yep. No, I definitely agree with that. The next one, and we're coming to the end here. We got a couple more pairings, and that is Virtua Tennis 3 versus GTA 3.
Virtual Tennis for me.
I was gonna go GTA 3.
Yeah.
I
Don't
thought
get me
GTA
wrong.
3.
I like GTA 3. I do. But I like Virtual Tennis.
I love Virtua Tennis 3. I absolutely think it is. I mean,
Yeah, I can't go back on this. I can't.
But I do think GTA 3 was like, it was a revolutionary game. Like playing that on the PS2.
Yeah.
I mean, it felt like, again, like that Final Fantasy thing. Like, wow, a world has opened up that I didn't know existed in video games.
Yeah.
Whereas Virtua Tennis 3 was just a great arcade tennis game.
Right.
So I
you know what? Here, let me tap into my inner child.
Okay.
What would I pick? I would probably pick. See, I would pick my past self would definitely pick GTA 3, but my today self picks Virtual Tennis, for sure. So it's kind of like a tie. All right.
Yeah.
Here, I'll go. I will go GTA only because I spent a lot of time playing that game and I did the codes and all that stuff, got the tanks and I was at 6 stars and all that stuff. I did all that stuff. I don't remember doing any of that stuff in Virtua Tennis 3, but I do remember having fun with Virtua Tennis 3. This one's tough. Yeah, I'm gonna go Virtua Tennis. And
you're gonna go Virtua Tennis?
Yeah,
and you're GTA.
Okay, so no contest.
I have to, only because like I would rather play like you Virtua Tennis 3 today. Like I've done everything you can do in GTA 3.
Yeah.
But if I think about the history of games,
right,
and the impact that games had when they came out, I do think it's no contest.
Yeah, of course. See, I'm thinking about it like what do I want to play now? Like what would I play now? And it's most likely Virtua Tennis. But my past self would say GTA.
Well, that's the nature of this segment.
Yeah,
If
we'll go
we
no contest. We'll go no contest right here.
No contest, and the games just kind of fall out.
Yeah.
And this next one I think is easy, like no contest from a standpoint of I think we're going to get the same one pretty quickly.
Okay.
Ease 3 versus Art of Fighting 3.
Which one's Ease 3? Is that the one that has the knockaround combat? Is that one?
No, Ease 3 is like the side-scrolling one.
Oh, that's rough. I think I played that one too.
See, I figured you were going to go straight for Ease.
Well, it depends. Like, I'm not going to go straight for Ease if it's like... There's certain Ease that are really, really good. But you said Art of Fighting, and I like Art of Fighting.
I like Art of Fighting a lot, and I think Art of Fighting 3 is the best.
Yeah, but... the thing is with Art of Fighting, I don't really have fun playing Art of Fighting sometimes. It's just very classic, so I play it.
Yeah.
I'll go East here.
All right. Yeah, I would go East just because, again, I think your description of Art of Fighting 3 is good. It feels like you want to play it. It's a classic game.
Yeah, but do I want to play it?
Is it? Yeah. So I think again, Ease. There's more to do in Ease.
Yeah, definitely.
Doom 3 versus Halo 3.
Ooh, Halo.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Halo. I beat Halo 3 within the past 3 years. I never played it.
Hate Doom 3. That's the one where it went all horror and it was on the Xbox. I hate that game. I hate that game so much. I recently played it too because it came in that BFG edition thing or whatever you call it. And I was playing it. I was like, man, why do people like this game? It's so... You know what's weird? I probably should have never beaten Doom 64 and then went straight to Doom 3. Because I had such a blast playing Doom 64. Because it's so damn good. Because a lot of people don't know this, but Doom 64 is the original Doom 3. That's what Doom 3 was supposed to be, but a lot of people didn't know that. They just thought it was a port of Doom 1 on the Nintendo 64 at the time.
Interesting.
Yeah, but it's originally Doom 3. It's the follow-up game. Even if you play it, the story tells you story points from Doom 2. But they named it Doom 64 because, Nintendo. And they messed it up. I think it was supposed to be called, what was it? It was Doom Resurrection or something. It had like a stupid sub name or something like that. But it was like, no, you got to call it Doom 64. So
yeah, I'm gonna go Halo 3. Like I said, I didn't like Doom 3 on the Xbox. And
I'm going Halo 3.
I played Halo 3 on the Master Chief Collection and beat it, so I'm gonna go with that one. And the last pairing, SSX 3 versus Warcraft 3: Reign of Chaos. Which was the highest rated of...
Yeah, this is actually kind of easy for me. I'm going to go Warcraft 3.
Interesting.
I liked Warcraft 3 a lot. I played that game on PC a lot. Yeah,
Did you have, like... I had that... Remember the box? I think it was called, like, the Battle Chest. Warcraft had the different... Yeah. Like, that's the one that I had.
Yeah, it has Warcraft, and there's another one for StarCraft as well.
Yeah, it's been so long that I can't differentiate Reign of Chaos from whatever else was in that box. To me, it just blends together.
I don't think the Battle Chest had Warcraft 3 on it, though. I don't think it did.
Really? I thought it was like...
Maybe. Hold on.
I thought it was like Warcraft 3, and then it had like these different... Whatever Reign of Chaos was. Expansions, or...
Let's see.
I could be... This shows you the lack of impact. But I remember it being... like an all-in-one product, the one that I played.
Oh, wow. Damn, this thing is expensive now. Oh, no, you're right. It has Warcraft 3.
Yeah.
This thing is expensive.
Oh, I could imagine. Warcraft 3.
For PC and Mac, it's $100.
Was it called the Battle Chest?
Yes, it is. Warcraft 3 Battle Chest. It has Warcraft 3. Oh, wait, what are these? Yeah, it has Warcraft 3 Reign of Chaos and Warcraft 3 Frozen Throne.
Yes.
$100? Jesus.
I have no idea where that is, actually.
There's another one for a used one. What? Fat DVD box edition for $200? What? Oh my god. Yeah, wow, these are expensive. All right. Yeah, but you're right.
Well,
you're right.
But so I would have gone with SSX 3 because I think
it's a fun game.
It's very fun, and since I have no clear memory of Warcraft.
Okay, so we have another no contest here.
We have another no contest, which doesn't mean these games aren't good, folks.
Yeah.
So let's take the remaining games. I think we can do it in groups of 3, actually. So of Super Mario Brothers 3, Witcher 3, and Metal Gear Solid 3, which would you take?
Super Mario Brothers 3, Witcher 3, and Metal Gear Solid 3. I'm going Super Mario. I'll go Super Mario over Metal Gear.
Okay. Yeah, and like I said, I like The Witcher, but nostalgia tells me that I have to go with Super Mario Brothers 3.
Yeah.
Burnout 3, Tekken 3, or Mother 3?
It's a toss-up between Burnout and Tekken for me. Burnout.
Burnout?
Yep.
So I feel like we can't do a toss them out, not have a no decision. See, I was going to go Tekken 3 because
I can go Tekken 3. That's fine. I mean, it's the toss-up between those two for me.
I feel like you got to go Tekken because it's Japanese made.
I'll go Tekken for nostalgia purposes. I only go
Okay.
Burnout. I only go Burnout because I'm thinking of what I'll have fun with today. Like I said, so I'll go Tekken for nostalgia because
Okay.
I do like Tekken.
And then we have, let's see, Sonic 3, Alpha 3, and Super Mario Land 3, Wario Land.
I'm still gonna go with Wario.
Yeah, that's that. I was leaning to that because I like that one better than I like Sonic 3. So.
Yeah, I'll go with Wario.
And again, see, Street Fighter Alpha 3, I think that's its legacy. Like, it's a good game. We all acknowledge it. It's not Alpha 2, which I think was the best. So,
Do I? I think Alpha 2 had the better level design. But I as in gameplay purposes, I still like the fast-paced action of Alpha 3.
okay. Well,
Alpha 2 is more grounded. It's more slow-paced. It feels like you're playing Street Fighter 2. Alpha 3 just feels like Alpha 2 Turbo.
yeah. No, I could definitely see that. And then the last group of 3 would be Wario Land 3, Ease, and Halo 3.
Ease.
Ease.
No, wait. No, because it's the side scroller. Wario. Yeah, because when you say Ease, I'm thinking Lacrimosa of Donna, like immediately.
Yeah.
So I got it. No, you said side scroller, so I have to go Wario.
All right, so we're down to the final 4 now.
Right.
Super Mario Brothers 3 versus Tekken 3.
I would Super Mario.
Yeah,
Super Mario.
Gotta go for it. Like it is an all-time classic.
Yeah.
And then we have we've got Super Mario Land 3 versus Wario Land 3.
Wario.
Like the pure Wario Land 3 or the first one?
I'm going Wario Land 3.
Okay. Wario Land 3. Which leaves us with the choice. Super Mario Brothers 3 or Wario Land 3.
Wario.
I'm going Super Mario Brothers 3.
All right.
I have to like Wario, incredibly creative, and I enjoy those games. But you know what? If Mario Brothers 3, if Super Mario 3 didn't exist,
yeah, we wouldn't have
any of the
Mario. Yeah. I'm still picking Wario.
That's the innovation edge. The innovation edge goes to goes to Mario 3. Interesting. So we end on a tie. I'm sticking by Mario 3.
That's fine. I'm sticking by Wario.
Well, you know what? Our listeners and our viewers can tell us what they would pick.
Yeah, they can also tell us why we're wrong.
They can also, because I feel like we left out,
Well, we left out like Final Fight 3. That's a good one.
Yeah, I don't think that would have won though. That's
what Final Fight 3 is so okay.
Yeah, I go by like the ratings on like Moby Games and like the aggregate ratings that you could find online. So yeah, there's a lot of 3s.
Yeah, there's a lot of 3s. You got Final Fight 3, Gradius 3. That's another one.
I forgot Gradius 3.
There's a couple, man. There's a couple.
Like I'm sure there was like a Contra 3.
Contra 3 Alien Wars.
Yeah, Castlevania 3. I'm sure you're right.
That's on NES. Yep.
NES. So like
there's a lot we're missing. We understand, but
yes.
There's only so much time we have in a day.
Yes. So there we go. It is Super Mario 3 versus Wario Land 3. Take your pick.
Yep.
All right. So we have made it to near the end of a marathon episode, but we haven't spoken in 2 months. Do we want to just quickly end on what we've been playing?
Yeah, let's do this quick. Because I still gotta gotta go be a dad and a husband.
Yeah.
So I got a couple of imports here. I've been playing on and off. I've been playing East 10. It's okay right now. It's not the best thing for me right now, but I'm gonna put it on the back burner for now. I also got a copy of Farmagia limited edition. That one's actually surprisingly fun. It's like a crossbreed between Pikmin and I guess you would say Pokemon. I guess
Okay.
another one or Rune Factory is another one. I got Blazing Strike, the fighting game. That one's surprisingly good once you get a hang of the system. I got a copy of Last Faith limited edition. That's like Bloodborne meets 16-bit platformer. It's really good, but it's really hard, so you're going to be dying a lot. And I bought the limited edition for the Halloween Retro Realms pack. That's like the Halloween versus the Ash from Evil Dead game.
Yes, I saw that.
I bought that limited edition. It's fantastic. I definitely recommend it.
Nice.
As for games that I imported from Japan, because I got Clock Tower from Japan. That one's one of those. What is it? The limited edition from there. We spoke about this briefly. I want to get my wife to play this. I got Exit 8 and Platform 8, that weird horror game. Bought that. I imported a copy of SVC Chaos, which is the SNK versus Capcom. But I think I'm probably going to either trade that off or give it away. Mostly because the game doesn't look good. So I'm probably going to... I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I don't think I'm going to keep it, though. I got, like we talked about, I got my copy of Gunvein. I also got a limited edition of Wolfang, a Sega Saturn tribute game.
Got that as well.
Did you get the limited edition for that?
Nah, just the regular.
The regular game? The limited edition is really cool. I'm not going to lie. I think it's a really cool edition. If you can get your hands on it for a cheap price. I'm really a big fan of City Connection right now. Their stuff. I didn't even notice this, but I bought all of their releases, apparently. They're the ones that did the Akai Katana release. They did Batsugan and Death Smiles limited editions. I bought all of those. I didn't even know that City Connection was a thing until I bought this. So I'm a big fan of them. I bought the Irem Collection Volume 2, which is fantastic. I think everybody should get this. There's a game on here that I think is amazing called Geostorm. It's so good. It's super, super, super good. I also got the limited edition for Raiden Nova. It's a twin stick shooter. Got that as well. You got it? Did you play it?
I did play it, yes.
It's weird, right? Because it's a roguelike dungeon crawler twin stick shooter. It's weird.
Yes.
It's really weird, but I dig it.
At first I was like, what happened to Raiden? But the more I played it, I was like, you know what? I really enjoy this game.
It's addictive. It's really good. Next I got UFO robot. Was it Geisenser? I think that's how you pronounce it. Grandizer. I bought that. That was the game that I told you where I said I feel like the frame rate. I see what you're talking about. There is some frame rate things happening there in that game on the Nintendo Switch version. But it's this game is fantastic. If you get the limited edition, there's an art book inside that has really cool articles in it. I want to use my translator so I can read it, because it has the creator talking about it. I didn't even know he was still alive. But yeah. Oh, one thing that I thought was cool when I pre-ordered Exit 8 and Platform 8, they sent me another separate box of all of the posters that are in the game. So I thought that was sweet. Yeah, I thought that was cool. I got to figure out a way how to, secure that because I think that's cool. But those are and I also got a game. Called Card and Seal from NT Creates, which is kind of like it looks like a Mega Man Battle Network game, but with cards. It's really cool, really underrated. And I got the limited edition to Rabby Ribby on the Nintendo Switch. That's my lineup. I got a lot of stuff.
Wow.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 games. Jesus.
Well, okay. I got, I have so many things that I brought back from Japan, but I haven't really played through them yet. I was telling you that my schedule prior to the trip and even now a little bit after has been kind of busy, so I don't have a lot of stuff that I was playing. I played Persona 3 Reload. Or Reloaded, and just to get back to the world of Persona 3. I've enjoyed that, but I didn't really play it seriously. It was just like, oh, it was on like the Xbox Game Pass. Like, let me see what it's about. We talked about Raiden Nova. Couple of the imports that I did get to from the trip. Powerful Pro Baseball 24-25 30th Anniversary Edition. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this series, but it's kind of like the chibi character baseball series.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And, it's a sports game, but I've always enjoyed the aesthetic. And on one of my wife's trips, she brought back like a version of this, like one of the earlier ones on the Switch. And it actually had a solid frame rate. It looked good, but it was a little limited and a little bit geared towards online play. Whereas this one is like celebrating the whole history of the series, and it has very heavy RPG elements, character creation elements, and then it's just like the regular baseball game. So I played that a little bit. It is a lot of fun. And then the other one that I played was Kill a Kill, the game.
Yeah, Kill a Kill. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is basically, now I'm not familiar with the series or manga or whatever it comes from, but it has an extensive story mode with tons of animations. But at its core, it is I would say like a Tekken-style fighting game.
Oh, cool.
And, cel-shaded. Like, it's not as free-flowing as Tekken. It's very much about position and the art and kind of the fighting areas a little stilted, and you're still... I'm not going to say it's not full 3D, because it is, but it feels like you're forced onto the same plane, so you can't really move around as freely as in Tekken. But it's a good game.
Right.
And very surprised to have found that. And then I was in New York City back in early November, and we went to the VGNY store.
Yep.
And I picked up a number of their games, but the only one I got to play was the Shmup Collection.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's
and
a good
I really
one.
enjoyed Wolf Flame, I think it's called.
Wolf Flame is good, and there's another one. It looks like Gradius. That one, I played that one extensively, too.
Yes. And I should also, I posted this to the Discord, picked up for the wife, the Chinese exclusive Chicken McNugget Tetris game.
I did see that. I did. That's amazing. That's amazing.
So she was like, "Oh, I'm going to open it and play it." I'm like, "Are you crazy?"
Put that down.
I was like, "I'll buy you another Tetris game. Like, we're leaving this in the box."
Yeah.
And then I got Persona 5 Royal. I was kind of trying to decide, like, I've played and finished Persona 5, the year it came out. And when you're old, like, that's not that long ago, although that is, 7 years ago now?
Right.
And I loved it, and I was like, do I really want to invest the time to go back to that game just to play this new content? So I got it. I don't know if I'm going to play through the whole thing, but I just wanted to return to the world of Persona 5. So try to do that over the holidays. But there it is, and quite an in-depth episode. But like I said, we haven't done this for a while, so we will try to be back sooner. Hopefully earlier in January, and talk about the games we're looking forward to for the upcoming year. But until then, enjoy going back and being a husband and a father.
Yep, of course.
And I'm going to try to go and work through some of these import games that I picked up in Japan.
Yeah, look deeper into that Mega Drive thing I was talking about, man.
Oh no, that's up there. I'm going to click buy as soon as we
fall down the rabbit hole with me, my friend.
Yes. Sounds good. Until then, we will see you next time on the Nights On, Lights Off podcast.